Hello, there are courts and police who have been refusing to identify themselves properly, and they painted themselves into fake conversations with me as a kid and I was an adult. And the kids they did have conversations with when I was a kid, they screened their roles with overt criminal enterprises with that and with criminal foreign influences. Their roles with a whole bunch of countries on and off the campuses. I caught them also roles with child abusers and the counters to it as collusions. There are proofs that people that were child abused at campuses before I was even born that they won cases against that or whatever, and but they had collusions with with the people with the courts involvements with it. Just like I caught recorded, New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts have roles with some proven child abusers, leaders of the kids first forced, and they had roles forcing it. Also with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. He's increasingly involved with names next to Hartford Hospital, involved with prostitution and pretending it's unmarked police forms legitimately, and their roles with Los Solitos on Facebook too. Confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed. A whole bunch of people tied to a Fred Grisey is involved with a police chief, Cintron, and, and people at Modern Pastry and Mazzucato Pastry with the police chief, Cintron, and 1 years before him, who have been planting predicate acts with facts on my street and wire crimes with the police forms in courts that are forging and switching names. There are cousins involved with the name Scalora. They're also involved with the World Trade Center predicate acts. At the World Trade Center collusions, next to the spots next to it, including a court there, a Ninth Circuit court, which was proven after the attack in the attack context, had people that affected, they changed the date that legal papers were brought to the court and timestamped and had that presented to the court. That proven then led to a 2006 district court case with a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. His co-defendants were increasingly involved with predicate acts with me, with people next to Fox Connecticut News, next to WFSB, and next to WTNH, involved with wire and mail crimes. And police departments, you can't speak with them. It's recorded because they fake conversations. And they have collusions with overt criminal enterprises and various natures of murders in bad things, intercities that were connected. And they were brought up, and that's recorded. But it's also recorded that they've been recording fake things, pretending fake things are recorded to hide what's actually recorded. And they're lying about their motivations and getting away with it per their rules with a whole bunch of different countries shared at the campuses. So long sick together here and there that the names next to them were used criminally foreign influence and using them criminally foreign influence, the ones with the name Kalo and O'Brien, who had wire crimes at the Weathersfield Police, falsified police reports, rolls with them. And all the and Hartford Police and Rocky Hill Police and Newington Police. Whole bunch of them, they know our names that we don't even know. Real quick, they'll sell out their country just to keep things before courts that they know are criminally foreign influence. Switching names, forging names. Collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. Their doctors, the family members of fire departments running into Hartford Hospital, hospitals throughout the country and world to be a part of arrays where they make conversations in instances because they need to keep things blamed on other things, others themselves. They need to hide live progressions for their rules with differences. So they have overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and they have the interbranch and the difference between that and the intelligence tied to them at the same moments. And with the news at the same time, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, kept needing to hide the same quality aspects of nature, like as criminal seriousness, self-value to their identities of logic and nature. They need to pretend such is personal, leaving out the predicate acts with facts. I noted they're refusing to identify themselves. So, in other words, there are people there is an intimate tie per her and per him, distinctly. And Eric Burgess, He was one of the ones with the military, also with a Mark Violet and a Justin Kovinskis. Sought me out all alone to make confessions. Then make it look like I was tied to them and their roles with my neighbors, trying to make fake exceptions. They have roles of people at Hartford Hospital through time, and next to it, including that girl who was dragged to her death. I never had a conversation with her in my life. She was demonstrating, she has roles with people with 3 spots at the end of the Burlington Turnpike, involved with a Mark Violet, with the Joshua Julian, with my neighbors, involved with predicate acts with him, and with the camp and with the Facebook page of a principal sex offender, with some medical offenders and some police chiefs retired and their family members. There's a Mazzucato Bakery is involved with the Jessica Cintron, who's reportedly the daughter of a police chief Cintron, who's a little coward playing games, calling people involved with police that are making confessions about him, roles with them, switching and forging names. Intercities, since before the World Trade Center attack, they've been planting evidences with this Mazzucato family, with the Cintron family, and their roles with a whole bunch of people with the departments at Central Connecticut State University, involved with predicate acts, with facts, with this Detective Samuda and the FBI Director Robert Luskin and his co-defendants, with the ones who have roles with home break-ins in my area through time, and various natures of federal evidences, crimes, with the police and courts also wiring how they're preventing people from doing business properly. They have roles with extortion methods recorded. Now I've been asking Judge Napolitano to get them on paper, one name and sequence. They have watch the video with the Work Criminal Enterprises, you morons who speaks for it. Like we have no representation because these are people with Sandy Hook too, has roles with their patients and criminals, crimes, and their workers, collusions. Has something to do with the role with people with the name Cintron from Puerto Rico too, involved with identity theft while planting evidences with their captors and the doctors at Sandy Hook campuses, including a prison there, and their prisoners, collusion at crime scenes, and with the news at the same time, and with wire crime acts and methods, changing what's actually recorded. That's why WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others as collusions with all kinds of natures of organized crime and sources of WTNH planting evidence at corners of streets. I don't know that Paul Kelly sought me out to make a fake exception and pretending to know me. I didn't even respond to him. Virtually, he does not know me. He's pretending other with some judges and prosecutors, with his neighbors, through time increasingly involved with that, and with the people with the intelligence families in the area. I only know them, with one another. And they only know me through people needing to pretend like things because they're keeping names. In other words, they're keeping predicate acts with facts predators behind really what's behind all the killings, sickly distinctly in the cities and in the suburbs. The suburbs were designed, there were houses designed before America's founders were even born. And slavery was entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies. Way worse than, in other words, just witch trials in North and South. And then our founders were born. See, we don't have this clear because we have our founders' communications changed. We're supposed to understand our founders as those behind James Madison and his plan to counter-extort the rest of the founders. And then we're told to understand and be honest about the extortion of George Washington. Instead, we have other things, others ourselves as well, blamed for the breaching method. Blame right where we're supposed to blame things on the breaching method. Not prejudice, a breaching method that only allowed roles, a fact, cheap nature, torture, extortion, slavery method. Otherwise, that body was sent. And them and everyone around them was hurt. If they didn't have collusions hurting others around them. That's how they used everyone remotely. as names A through Z of the human species body from some ancient time. Clearer than day. There are people, since we were kids, could discern this when they make convictions by history. It's getting harder to discern by the kids because the education is getting worse, and they're using all truths that they could for lies to pretend other with. In other words, how many time impositions they put on people with computers? In other words, vaccines, I teach us things. So, people involved with Los Salidos and body dumping spots and other natures of criminal enterprises that there are proof that there was recorded proofs that they are grouped wrong. UConn has roles of people with the Los Salidos and other criminal enterprises. In ways, these are also Mark Violet and Adjuster Kovinskis said that they're part of the military with their KKK black themed, and their roles with a Joshua Stryker and Eric Oliveri. Now, they didn't say those names, but Ray Clow did, and a Fred Grisey did. A Fred Grisey is one of the names on all sides of schools that involved with judges and prosecutors planting evidences of fake ties and sequence shifts between kids. It has something to do with his roles with the Della Fera family and the Spada family, and their extended family members of probate judges, and their intimate ties together, and their roles with the Kaloa families and with the DeMauro families. The DeMauro family also has roles on the associate with people on all sides of the Wethersfield Reservoir. That has something to do with the intelligence community and people involved with the World Trade Center attack. And there are conversations with people associated with the name Christopher Cullen and Dan King, and their family members are involved with a Mr. Abruzzi and people involved with body dumping spots and various natures of federal crimes before I was in 5th grade with Mr. Abruzzi and after it. Increasingly as people with confessions regarding mayors, and as people that know your names but you don't know their name. Increasingly tired at each campus I went, which is relative because in other words, why would I leave it out? But you guys have prevented me a response since before the World Trade Center attack. All exceptions in exception nature were used to pretend other criminally foreign influence. In other words, the FBI and the courts, all sides of criminal and civil cases and depositions, the depositions of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants are involved with Hartford courts and their family members and intimate ties, like Eric Burgess with a girl who lives near the corner of Park Street, New Park Avenue, and Park Street, is involved with judges and prosecutors. With a guy who they said is named Officer Hunter, who's one of the ones that with the intelligence community at Central Connecticut State University involved with deans and people associated with deans, involved with murders and confessions and people associated with, in other words, intercities campuses and names next to them involved with rackets with that and differences rackets. Because that's also relative to, in other words, we shouldn't have that left out or make that even hard to interpret, even if you don't know, because you never heard differences rackets before. In other words, because we have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. They have black and white, and that's what the breaching method has assigned. Relative, the syntax relative to with slavery, for example. One of the things that nature itself and our founders communicated for us to understand was an entrenched part of a torture, extortion, slavery method that was already entrenched too deep for them to do anything about, but to force founders against it and then force them to rely on each other or be just crushed by those crazy breaching method laws. Yeah, which also limited the extent that they could do damage control to it, has stayed possession /s of all natures of science's voices, of the names of the peoples of sciences. They are staged as a certain type of victim /hyper victim, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, including the law, black pupils. Yeah. So we need to get them on paper, one name and sequence. The police cannot be trusted legitimately since founding. And when they deny that, they do so criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. At the same time, the difference of that is exploited too. Get them on paper, one name and sequence. Fear God for the fake conversations with me about the World Trade Center attack, WFSB. Fear God even more to hide it. And we're going to address those people that you pretend I had conversations with too. Get on paper.